So Seismic Bleed build, it was OP, in my view, before World Slayer. And in my view, too, OP before World Slayer, too. As a Devastator main, I can tell you with certainty now why, and also that Seismic Commander is the best and will always until forever, and if they ever do change the other sets or builds drastically, or nerf Seismic Commander some. And I won't lie to you, even as a dev main and someone who hates nerfs, I even would agree this Seismic build needs to be nerfed a little. Not a ridiculous amount, and knowing the developers, they might screw it up, so honestly I still don't want them to mess with it, because I know they wouldn't do nerfs that I would support. It'd probably be destroying the build as usual, but it is insane though. And why is it? You're about to see this build of mine clear frontline in under 6 minutes. About 5.5 minutes. Which is actually insane when you think about it, considering if you pay attention to what I'm using on this build, this is a very tank-oriented version of Seismic Commander. And out of all my tank builds you've seen, my Pyro probably clears frontline the fastest, and he still does it in about 7 minutes. So he still does it pretty long after this Seismic Bleed build does it, and he's a freaking Pyro with the max debuffs spamming. So why is Seismic Commander ridiculous? Like I said, it was ridiculous before World Slayer, but after World Slayer it got stronger. And stronger in relation to the game too, because you could say all the builds got stronger, but not really, because your enemies got stronger and different. A lot of builds just simply remained as OP as they were before once you got the extra mods on them and got the new sets and got them to level 75 at tier 40. They're OP still, but they weren't really more OP at tier 40 than they were at tier 15 before World Slayer. Seismic Commander stands alone, well not alone, but in my view it's one of the few builds, at least the old builds, that has actually gotten stronger too. And that's because of the PAX trees. The PAX tree nodes, especially multi-strike. Multi-strike alone accounts for a giant amount of my damage on this dude. And again, Seismic Commander was insane before, mostly because the bleed damage buff, again, it increases your damage by 50%, and that's on all sources, by the way. Your gun mods, Moaning Winds you see me using, your skills too, it's buffing everything. And then to top it off, it can stack anomaly power better than almost any, including a lot of Pyro builds. And honestly, it can stack it pretty much the best now with multi-strike in the PAX tree. I think only the Techno triple turret like meta build competes now with Seismic Commander. But I would say it's an inferior build, at least for solo. And why is that? Because Seismic Commander can do just as much damage as a Techno can, but is even tankier. And that's saying something, because the Techno Turbo is actually super tanky for a glass cannon build too. But yeah, its damage is just so easy to max. I am using max health on 3 of my pieces, not anomaly power. And I am using Impale. And you saw, I'm only using 2 anomaly mods on this dude. You have to understand, there's a lot of other anomaly mods. You have Death Renome, you have Arms and Anomaly, you have Mage's Rage, you have countless other critical ones you can stack on it. Get anomaly power on all 5 of your pieces. You saw my skill tree is not fully in the bottom tree, because again, I'm focused on tanking as usual. So its damage is insane. And and the finished product of that is still super tanky. And why is that now? Well, you have Protected by the Anomaly skill node, has always been OP. Protected by the Anomaly in the skill tree essentially lets you not have to use Damage Absorber or any armor mods at all. Protected by the Anomaly gives you maximum armor, like max physical damage reduction from your armor, from just that skill node alone. That's all you need. This is one of my few builds you've noticed that I don't have Damage Absorber on, because I don't need it. Yeah, and then of course it stacks with Skilled Sentry. So that combined with Skilled Sentry, you already have max armor, you already have higher resistance than a lot of other glass cannon builds that don't invest in that do. And then to top it off, you get Blood Donation, So obviously the commander build is going to heal a lot from bleed, but more than than the techno does from toxic and the pyro does from burn, even max status power anomaly builds on those. And that is because you have blood donation that gives you an extra buff, an extra 25%. And that's ridiculous. And then to finally top it off, you have Earthen Shield now in the patch tree. So you are accumulating shield off every skill usage, but it's not just that. It's actually not just that. What I realized, and I don't even know if a lot of seismic builds even realize this, but your status effects like bleed give you shield 2 from the Earthen Shield skill node, which means bleed heals your health and gives you shield. It does both. And not just bleed, every status effect. So you notice I have Firestorm on my gun for good reason, and Noxious Spawns. That's because Toxic and Burn and Bleed all heal me and all give me shield. and I mean, I have the thing about, so I've turned this dude, so this is my own preferred Seismic Commander build, not a straight glass cannon doing max damage. I've made it into the ultimate tank dev it can possibly be. I have max armor always, max physical damage reduction from armor. I now have max resistance. I have 80% resistance on me pretty much all the time from Skilled Sentry and Circle Bower combination. I have insanely high skill leech healing from bleed. And I've tested it. Usually my shield never even breaks anyway. But I deliberately let my shield break just to see how much my health restores too if I just let myself get hit. And it's an insane amount when you combine bleed with toxic and fire and weapon leech healing on my gun. Like the healing is as good as my techno build you've seen, except even better because I have more armor resistance and durability than my techno does too. Seismic Commander bleed. It is insane. The damage is ridiculous and the tanking is ridiculous. It gets the skill nodes for its damage, the set bonus for its damage, and the tank bonus for its tanking is insane.